Hey guys, Philip Schadler here live on our podcast. And today we want to talk about some real estate related stuff, obviously, since it's a real estate podcast. But also, in about 15 or 20 minutes, I'll have a guest coming on, Tess Cheng, which is a health and wellness coach with a master's degree in nutrition from NYU. And the reason I'm bringing her on is because it is very important to have the right nutrition when you have a stressful job, especially like as a real estate agent. For example, today I got three things going on right now. I have a brand new listing in Malibu, by the way. But with the deadlines and disclosure forms, sometimes till like 11 o'clock at night, 12 o'clock at night, it can be a very stressful job. So if you don't eat properly, it can really drain your energy. And if you eat good nutrition the right way, and we're going to learn about that from Tess Cheng. She usually charges for this, so you get to ask questions for free. Let's see. First, I want to show you real quick. Let me just show you my screen here. And this is my new listing, which I'm very excited about. So if you go to shadlerrealtor.com, you click on this image here. What should come up is the new listing. So you can see this is a house that's 4,066 square feet in Malibu. Absolutely stunning house. It's listed at 4,850,000. Let me just cycle through some pictures here real quick. We just finished the pictures last night. We did the drone shot. And every single room has ocean view. It is a 4-bedroom, 3.5-bath house and has a bonus room, a office. Look how beautiful it is, right? I mean, how can you not love a house like this? I'm very, very lucky, very fortunate that I got this listing. Really, really happy. I'm also in the process of purchasing a $3.6 million property in Playa Vista. We're under contract there, which is also very exciting. So a lot of stuff going on right now. And look at this. These are the views, right? I mean, how can you not love living in Malibu? So this is a house that whoever is the lucky buyer will really enjoy living there, because the current owner, has been living there for 23 years. And about 3-4 years into it, after they lived there, her and her husband, they purchased a parcel underneath it. So now all the way down to PCH. So it's 2.2 acres. So nobody can build in front of you, right? Which is fantastic. And the new owner, they might want to check with the Malibu Planning Department. They might be able to build a house further down without obstructing their own views. I mean, this is just an idea. I don't know if that's possible. There's some other good benefits about that house. We have talked to the insurance agent that currently insures that house, and it's possible for a new homeowner to take it over, very likely. Anyway, enough of that. Now let's do a quick review on the market. So let's see what we got here. For example, let me just share my screen with you. The total housing inventory at the moment is right over here. See this? This is March 24th. So it's 694 and 820,000 units. That's total units. That's condominiums, townhouses, and single-family residences. Now, we should be over here. This would be great, right? 1.4 million or 2. That would be a healthy market in my mind, But let's have a quick look and see. Let me just get to the quick, let's share a screen with you. And if I can find it, no, that's not it. I think here it is. Yeah. So this is from Altus Research, Mike Samuelson. Let's just listen in real quick what he has to say about the market.
Jump in interest rates this week. The 30-year fixed mortgage rate, according to the Housing Wire Mortgage Rate Center, is now over 7.2%. That's 50 basis points above where we were at the start of the year. And at that time, most of the voices in the media assumed that mortgage rates had peaked and would fall by now. But the American economy continues to be powerfully strong. And with each economic data release, it seems less likely that we'll see the Fed cut short-term rates anytime soon. So now we're in peak home buying season, and mortgage rates are still in the sevens and maybe even heading higher. So how will home buyers and sellers react, and how quickly can we measure it? Higher mortgage rates have forced available inventory to climb all year. As supply has increased, we can see a softening in future price signals also. And by the way, these trends are not even across the country. Some markets have more homes on the market now than before the pandemic. Some are just now coming off the pandemic lows. So this Thursday, April 18, in our monthly webinar, we get to dive into the latest details, all the leading indicators, and spend time on those local markets. there's a link in the description below to register for that webinar. Click that to save your spot. These are limited to 1,000 attendees. We get way more than that every month that want to join. You can still save your spot. So in the description below, click that link and register for this week's Thursday webinar. At Altos Research, we track every home for sale in the country every week. 1,000 single-family homes.
New from Dermalogica, Dynamic Skin Retinol Serum. Easily reduces the
homes active, unsold on the market. That's up 2.6% from a week ago when the data included the Easter weekend. So that holiday week jump is not super crazy, but 2.5% is a jump in unsold inventory in a week is notable. And this is absolutely a function of high and rising mortgage rates. And I've been sharing this view for 2 full years now. As mortgage rates rise, inventory rises. Or put another way, demand slows, inventory grows. So rates are up and inventory is undeniably growing. Available inventory of unsold homes on the market is 30% greater than last year at this time and 102% more than April of 2022. So that's 120,000 more homes on the market now than last year and 250,000 more homes on the market now than 2 years ago. So at that time, 2 years ago, rates were obviously rising for the first time in years, and inventory was rising too. So inventory total new listings, that's 32% more new listings this week than the same week a year ago. That measure included the Easter holiday weekend. So 32%. That's an easy comparison, but.
So anyway, you guys I can leave this link down below, and you can watch the remaining video. But what's really happening here is that the interest rates have gone up again, and sellers have been waiting for at least a year or two for the rates to drop, right? But at some point, the sellers really cannot wait any longer. They have plans, either they have to relocate, maybe there's a new job offer, whatever it may be. So the reason why inventory is now increasing is for 2 reasons here. One is because the sellers that have been waiting for a long time have been decided to go forward and list their property after all. And on the buyer side, we're going to talk about it in a minute, on the buyer side, the activity has slowed down, right? So, and there's a reason for that. We're going to get into a little bit of the NAR lawsuit settlement with Jason Mitchell, one of the top realtors in the country. I'm going to bring that video up in a second. And hey, there you are. I see my friend is already here.
Hello.
Hello. Give me a couple more minutes and I'll be right with you, okay?
Yes.
And so anyway, so more inventory has come up on the market. However, it is not really so much that, so many more inventory, so many people have come on the market. It's just like it's blocking on the buyer side, but there's some coming on the seller side, right? So that's why it's increasing. Now, getting back to the NAR lawsuit, a lot of people are very confused about that. A lot of agents are very scared about it and panicked about it. And the basic idea is that we realtors can no longer announce that we're offering a buyer's agent commission. And this has huge implications because as it stands right now, what this settlement will hurt the most is FHA buyers and VA buyers, Veterans Administration and Federal Housing Administration, because they're usually no down payment or low down payment at 3%. Now, here's the thing. If they have to come out of pocket for a buyer's agent representation, they won't be able to afford it. They barely have the down payment. This is why the Veterans Administration offers no down payment and the FHA offers 3% down payment to get first-time homeowners into a home. So up until now, first-time homeowners, the biggest challenge was to get the down payment, to get pre-approved for the loan, and cleaning up your credit. A lot of steps involved. Now, they won't be able to if they have to pay their own representation. So let me just share this quick video with Jason Mitchell. And I'm going to leave these links down below so you guys can finish it later. I'm not going to show the whole video, but I thought what he had to say is very, very interesting and really eye-opening. So let's have a look real quick.
Clientele to our agents across the country, located in 41 states. We're on pace to do about 110,000 referrals this year to our 850 agents across the country. And so a lot of great relationships and connections in that space.
Yeah, so Jason knows mortgage, he knows real estate. How many realtors are part of your platform?
About 850 right now.
So responsible for the livelihoods of 850 real estate agents, which I think is the big news here. So tell me, what are you doing to navigate, call it post NAR settlement?
Lot of talk. Again, I'm fortunate enough to have a lot of great relationships with a lot of the CEOs and founders of these organizations, and it's a lot of brainstorming. It's wondering what's going on, but and coming up with creative solutions, because the reality, Dave, is you can go down a lot of rabbit holes and open a lot of doors, however you want to unpack them. But the reality is that what just transpired with NAR's ruling to eliminate the ability to show cooperative compensation is going to absolutely crush. That's funny. There's Susan Damler, president of Zillow. It's absolutely going to crush the buyers and FHA and VA buyers. And it's really disgusting to me. And the reason that they get hurt in this is because the non-transparency of not knowing if you're offering cooperative compensation. Because what ends up happening is you have a consumer that says, I want to see this property. And you say, look, that's great. I'd love to show it to you. But in this case, they're not offering cooperative compensation per the agent in my discussion. So if you want to buy this home, you're going to have to come out of pocket with some fees that you now have to pay. And they're going to say, well, I don't have that kind of money. Well, then we got to find you a home that is offering cooperative compensation. So there's people now that are going to find houses that they don't have the ability to buy, not because they can't get qualified, because they can't pay representation. And it's all because there's non-transparency. And it opened the door for weak agents. And this is what kind of pisses me off, because NAR's stance used to be, and about 4 years ago, they could have fixed all this. And so, yeah, I'm not happy with NAR. I think they threw us under the bus, and the DOJ never said you can't offer compensation. They're not a fan of universal compensation, where they consider the 3% typical standard fees. They never said you can't say if you're offering it or not. But what NAR's stance was 4 years ago, they said, look, throughout this litigation process, the main goal was National Association of Realtors, you can't tell somebody that they have to charge compensation. And NAR said 4 years ago, yes, we can, and you got to charge at least $1, or you can't list your home. If you're not willing to pay, you are not allowed to list a home on the MLSs. That was their stance. And the attorneys for two big firms that were involved in the big lawsuit went to Chicago and said, guys, just say it's optional. Who cares? And NAR got very arrogant, and they said, nope, you got to pay if you list. Well, there was the problem, because they said, now we're going to get you, because you're making and forcing compensation. So then what they did 2 months before the trial got over with, they said, now you can put 0 in there if you want. Well, that was a change of position. But where they're really hurting now is they're facing $5.5 billion lawsuit. So it's interesting now that they settle for $400+ million over 4 years. That's an easier pill to swallow, but they horse traded by telling the DOJ, we'll eliminate it. So now your stance from 4 years ago, where you could have just made it negotiable, which would have been fine, because everybody would know that at least they're offering compensation. So my client, because it's about transparency, because now I can turn to my client and say they're offering compensation here, so you don't have to come out of pocket. The seller is willing to pay. Now what they're saying is you're not allowed to offer compensation. So what does that do? That opens the door for weak real estate agents to go to their clients, or their clients that get wind of it, hypothetically, and say, I don't have to pay buyer broker commissions. Well, yeah, you never had to. It was always negotiable. But now they open the door and say, now you can't list that. So what happens is sellers say, we're not going to offer cooperative compensation. And agents, weak agents, are going to say, well, that's fine, because I can't offer it anyway. I just want your listing. But the reality and how this works in the real world is this. Now, all of a sudden, they're going to get a call. They're going to say, I'd like to show your home tomorrow at 2 p.m. Great. Still available? Yep, still available. Are you offering cooperative compensation? No, we're not. Well, unfortunately, my client doesn't have the money to come up out of pocket, so we're going to have to pass. And then what's going to happen is they're going to go back to their client and say, you know, I've had like 5 calls to show, but because we're not offering cooperative compensation, no one wants to show it. Not based on the steering that they're saying is coming from the agent. See, what they were saying was, when we list a percentage of commissions, agents are steering their clients into the ones that pay them more. My argument was, back in the 80s and 90s, yeah, you could do that because there wasn't transparency with what's on the open market. Everyone sees what homes available. So when a consumer says, show me 1, 2, 3, 4 Main Street, whatever the co-broke is, the co-broke is, but we're not steering anymore because we can't. Clients find their own homes. Now what's going to happen is it's going to create consumer steering, because they're not going to want to see that home because they're not going to want to pay out of pocket. And so what happens to the VA and FHA buyers and the low down payment borrowers? They're stuck sitting there saying, now I can't buy a home, not because I can't qualify, but I can't pay for representation. And even if representation wasn't 2 or 3%, even if representation was more of a service fee, like a lawyer charges, they still don't have the money. It made it, what they're saying in the administration is, we're going to make it less expensive for people to buy homes, but that's BS. You're making it harder for people to buy homes because they're going to have to pay if no one's willing to pay the cooperative compensation. Whereas before, it just went off the seller's net. It was much easier for a buyer to purchase a home because the seller could pay the buyer fees. Now they're not going to allow that, or it can still happen. It just has to happen through discussion and through a contract negotiation. And my argument with that is, so now you're going to create this underground world of agent calling agent. Are you offering cooperative compensation? Sure we are. How much are you offering? Well, it depends on what you're at. It depends on what your offer is. We're listed at 500. If you come in at 480, I can only offer you 1 point. If you come in at 490, I can give you 2. If you come in at 500, I'll pay you your full 3%. That is the discussions we're going to have now. So who are you really hurting? And then you also get to a world of what used to be, if they're trying to lower the basis for sellers to not pay as much to sell a home, or buyers to not have to pay as much to buy a home, if that's what you think that you're doing, when we get into a world that'll have more inventory available and people are dying to sell their home because it's been listed for 180 days and you can't get a buyer, all of a sudden you're going to say, hey, I got a buyer for your home, but I want 6%. I got a buyer for your home, but I want 7%. They're going to say, I don't care. I just want to sell my house. Instead of this, like, one, it's going to make it significantly harder for a buyer to buy a home. Where does it hurt the mortgage community? Think about it. Think about this. The people that you're pre-qualifying, if they go to buy a home, but they can't afford the service to buy it because that person isn't offering cooperative compensation, they're not going to buy a house. So
anyway, you guys, I will put that link on the YouTube channel, right? Because I think Jason Mitchell is absolutely right. What has happened in the industry is really not helping the first-time home buyers. And so far, you know, I have only seen one listing on the MLS that offers 0 BAC, 0 buyer's agent compensation. And it was actually a real estate agent owned property. And so I have not seen it. And I would probably guess, it's a safe guess, or it's a guess of mine, that savvy business owners, if they sell, or business-minded people, if they sell a house, they will still continue the traditional way of offering either 5 or 6%, because if you take the buyer's agent commission away, and there's, in my experience, buyers bring about 50% of the buyer pool. The seller's agent, with the marketing and social media postings and open houses, brings the other 50%, right? So by cutting down the other 50%, you're going to get way, way less offers, you know, and you're going to actually sell for less. So it might, like in $1 million house, let's say it's 3%. You might think you're saving 30,000, but what if you had 10 or 5 or 6 or 8 offers that made you more money at the end, maybe 50 or 60,000. So it's really a calculative situation, and I have not seen it yet. So we'll see how this plays out. The courts still have to approve all the decision, and DOJ is probably going to come in and clean this up somehow, because it has to clean up. It happened very fast. And people were really shocked that when the court's proceedings happened, the jury was expected to deliberate, I think, 2 weeks or 3 weeks. They deliberated for 2 hours and 35 minutes from what I've heard, right? So it was very fast. Everything was just happening very, very fast, which is a big shock to the industry. Anyway, this is it for real estate. So now I want to introduce my special guest, Tess Cheng, who is a health and wellness coach with a master's degree in clinical nutrition from NYU. And the reason why I brought her on today was because real estate agents' jobs can be very stressful. And I'm sure there are other jobs out there just as stressful. But we're going to talk to Tess Cheng now about how you can get more energy, eating the right food. And I'm going to have her introduce herself really quickly and tell a little bit about her history and where she came all about with her education. And hello, Tess, how are you? Can you just talk a little bit about how you started with this business?
Hello, Philip. How are you doing?
Good, thank you. Good to see you.
Good to see you too, as always.
Are you in Hong
yes.
Kong? Where are you at right now? In Hong Kong?
I am.
Oh, wow, you're the world traveler.
I'm here visiting my family, and it's morning here.
Great. Okay.
Yeah.
So tell us a bit about you, how you started in this business of health and wellness coaching.
Well, a while ago, I actually got my master's degree in clinical nutrition from NYU. And that was after I moved to New York from London. And then from there, I practiced as a nutritionist in Los Angeles for over 10 years. Always had a, passion for wellness, for health, because there's so much we can do to just improve, our well-being. And then a couple of years ago, I decided to go into health coaching because, it's not just nutrition. Other pillars of lifestyle also matter. For example, like sleep, stress management, exercise, even social connection has an impact on our well-being.
You mean like the people? You mean like the people you surround yourself with?
Yes, very much so. Absolutely. Yeah.
Why, let me ask a question on that. Why would that be? You mean like people would either put you in temptation to eat poorly, or they would promote you to eat healthy? Is that the reason why, or why would that be that the social field would be important?
Well, first of all, yes, that has an impact too. You're surrounded by people who have an influence on you, on your behaviors, and you also, because of peer pressure, sometimes you might be more tempted to do certain things. If you have friends who are more active, then you're more likely to exercise. But then if you have friends who who have more penchant for high processed foods, when you're there, then you get influenced by it. But also other aspects of social connection is that we are human beings, so we want to be with people. We want to engage ourselves with people we enjoy being with. And during COVID, that really has an impact on people because people get very stressed out. A lot of us find that we are in isolation. And
you mean during COVID? You mean during COVID or after COVID?
Both. I think during COVID, especially during the pandemic, when everything's locked down. So, we are used to, seeing our friends, our family, and suddenly a lot of people find themselves in isolation. And that really, affected a lot of people, both their mental health and their physical health.
Right. I would imagine that during COVID, probably, I think people were a bit happier because they ate everything they wanted to eat because they sort of had permission to stay home and survive, so to speak, right? But I think afterwards, they probably continued that bad habit.
Yes, very much so. And a lot of people gained weight. And also, when you don't have to get up at a certain time, you lose your structure and you lose your routine. And some people, they find themselves not sleeping till 3 or 4 in the morning, which is not really good.
This is a big thing we need to talk about too, because a lot of real estate agents I know and other people I know have huge issues with sleeping. So maybe we can touch on that later. What would be good to improve that pattern?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Like other things, there's a lot we can do to improve that.
So are you traveling the world to practice your job, or do you primarily have a fixed location where you work out of?
I'm based in Miami. So that's where I work from. Yes. And well, of course, I work remotely too, because a lot of my clients are traveling all over the world themselves. A lot of them are busy professionals and they have business trips. So we can always do Zoom calls, like we are doing now. And, then one can be anywhere. And it also, it helps with the schedules too.
And how do you control that they're eating properly if they're traveling all the time and you cannot really monitor them, or you don't monitor them? You just go by their honesty. Is that how it works?
Well, really, I don't really, I keep them accountable. That's,
Okay.
that's
Yeah.
what I do. So the whole point of, having good habits is that they are sustainable and they can be practiced anywhere you are.
Okay.
So if your lifestyle means that you have to travel, you have to be dealing with different time zones or different environments, then you have to have habits
Right.
that are, that will work with those. Because otherwise, if you do certain things that will only work if you're at home, then what happens when you're outside?
Yes.
So you can't just stay at home all the time.
Okay, I have a question about that. So if you have a job like I do with real estate, sometimes if I don't have a transaction, then I have a more even schedule, right? But if everything is like topsy-turvy, I might eat, I try not to eat after 8 p.m., but I might eat at 10 o'clock, or I'm up till 11 or 12, and then I'm stressed. I cannot go to sleep till 1 or 2. So how would one, and I do notice though, I have to say, I did try this where I had a week where I just ate raw food and a little bit of protein. And I have to say I had more energy than having pasta, sluggish stuff,
Yes, absolutely. I think a lot of it is like what we do every day, whether it's our work or our social activities, is having the mindset and giving those things your priorities. So you have to plan your day because
Okay.
you know what your day is like. You plan it out.
You mean
whether
like
you're
on a piece of paper you plan it, or like you have that plan with the person has that plan with them, or just mentally it's a plan?
Depends on what works for you. I
Okay.
find that it's good to actually have something written down.
Right.
So you fit everything in, so you plan it out for a week. I suggest to my clients to have a schedule, whether it's for work, for that they're eating plans or exercise routine. And even when it comes to sleep, you can plan for it so that you are not become overwhelmed and it doesn't happen at the last minute. And you're not being taken by surprise as to, because very often we are busy. And then suddenly you think, oh my God, it's 8 o'clock and I still haven't eaten. But then
Yes.
in the morning, you figure out, or the day before, you think, oh, I'm going to have 5 meetings tomorrow. So where are the gaps where I can fit in some food?
I see.
What can I do if I want to do a 30-minute workout?
I see. Yep. Okay. So yeah, it has to be planned. So really, I think have it written down probably would be a better way to go, because if I don't write it down, I'm not sure if it would work.
Yeah.
Now, so one of the things you sent me some notes here. One of the things you're very passionate about is disease prevention. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, very much so. I know that some people have family history of certain chronic diseases. When we talk about chronic diseases, we're talking about obesity, Alzheimer's, hypertension, cardiovascular disease, and diabetes, cancer as well. So we're talking about all those. So whether, if we are genetically predisposed to certain diseases, then we can work with them because they feel, so research shows that lifestyle habits, really have an effect on whether those genes are turned off or turned on.
Interesting. Okay. So,
Yes.
so stress. So what you're saying is basically if those genes are already in somebody's body and they might be sleeping, by stress, it would bring them out or forward?
Yes. Or if you have good habits such as frequent workouts, you have a, good diet, whether you consume a lot of fruits and vegetables, or if you get adequate sleep, so all those things really help with you.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. Well, sleep for sure. I can understand that. Yeah. And most people have, I think the biggest issue, if you had a magic pill for making people sleep, you'd be a billionaire.
Yes. People across the world globally, they all have sleep issues.
Okay. And this is
Yes.
probably just because of the kind of lifestyle we have these days, electronics and just
Yes.
being busy. So, okay, then my next question would be, if you want to improve your sleep pattern, what would one eat and when would they have to stop eating at the end of the day?
That's a very good question. Very
Okay.
good question. Yes. Preferably less sugar in the evening, because what
Mhm.
sugar does is that it spikes your blood glucose
Mhm.
and it speeds up your metabolism, so it keeps you awake. But most importantly would be to ideally finish your dinner 2 to 3 hours before bedtime.
Before, okay.
Yes, because when you think about it, when we eat food, when we consume food, our body has to process all of that.
Mhm.
So the
Yeah.
organs will be working away.
While you're sleeping, right? Right. I mean, the organs are working while you're sleeping or going to sleep. Okay.
Yes, exactly. So that's not ideal, because when you are going to sleep, it's a process, and you want your brain to start resting,
Mhm.
and also other organs. But if
Mhm.
they're working at the same time, I think that's why some people feel that if they've had a big meal
Yeah.
just before they go to bed, they really have trouble.
That is
with
true.
it.
I noticed that too. If I eat too much, I cannot sleep. But also on the other side, if I'm hungry, I also cannot sleep. Like if I'm really
Yes.
so basically what? It'd be like a soup or something light in the evening, or what would be the ideal meal? Protein, no protein?
Protein is good. Have some protein, some vegetables.
Mhm.
Soup, I'm not sure, because I find that with some clients, they're very sensitive with the amount of liquid they have at night.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Okay.
They find themselves going to the bathroom in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay. That
so
makes sense. And probably also high sodium in the soups, right?
yes, but of course, if you make the soup yourself at home, then you have control over that.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, that's true. Okay. Well, even then you could look the other way and give it an extra pinch,
Or use other spices such as cayenne pepper to spice it up,
Mhm.
rather than
It's
using.
interesting. It's interesting you mentioned that. The other day, I had a friend make a soup without any salt. It was a beet soup, and I don't know, she had quinoa and all kinds of things in there and different seasonings,
Mm,
and it actually tasted quite good. And it was zero salt. I was really surprised.
yeah, absolutely. Herbs and spices can really add to the flavors.
Okay, well, I have to remember that.
Ginger, garlic.
I know, yeah. Well, yeah, okay. I use that ginger and garlic and different spices, but somehow when the salt is missing, you can just kind of tell in a way. I guess we're also all kind of, everybody has a different level of, I guess, salt and sugar addiction, right? Some people want a lot of
Yeah.
salt and a lot of sugar, so I guess it depends.
Mm,
I remember a while back, I met my mother was obviously diabetic, but we were sitting with some people and we had a very sweet cake. And so I ate a piece of that cake and it was extremely sweet for me. One bite was enough. The other person ate the whole cake and said it wasn't sweet. So I'm thinking, so people must have different senses of sweetness in, I don't know, in their mind or brain, or I don't know how that works, So the people who think or taste less sweet obviously will consume more. Is that do you run into that? Do you have that experience?
Oh, very much so. Yes, our taste buds can be retrained.
Okay.
And sugar is very addictive.
Yes.
And that's why food manufacturers like to put a lot of it in our foods to get us addicted, so we will keep buying the products.
Yep. Okay.
When we consume sugar, it gives us that dopamine hit.
Mm-hmm.
And so we crave for it more and more over time.
Yeah.
Um,
That's funny. You're right about that, because I have cut out sodas many, many years ago. I don't remember when I had a soda, probably 10, 15 years ago. I only drink water, lemon water, or sparkling water with lemon, or juices. That's it. No soda. And I think I feel a lot better, because I remember there was a client of mine who drank diet soda constantly, I think Diet Coke, and actually got bursitis from it, like joint pain, right?
Yeah.
And never in a million years, she went on a forum and she found another woman who had the same issue, and she never thought about it, stopped all diet drinks, and the bursitis went away. Took a while, but it went away.
Yes. Definitely. Yes. So what we eat, what we drink, what we do really matters to what goes on inside our body.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. And but we can retrain our taste buds. Definitely. So
How long
over
is
time,
it? How long does it take? Like, is it like the 21-day rule, or how long does it take to retrain them?
it depends on the individual. But my suggestion is not to do it overnight. That's too drastic for for you.
Oh, I see. Taper it
You-
off.
Yes, exactly. Little by little. And, I have clients working over that all the time. And they would come back and say, oh my God, I went to a party the other day and my sister baked me this amazing cake that I would normally love. But then I complained about how sweet it was.
Oh, yeah. Okay. That makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah. Because now you trained your taste buds to accept less sugar, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
And
it's
that
a
would
good
be a
thing.
healthier lifestyle.
Yeah.
It's funny. I look at these, I don't know, maybe I don't want to generalize, but in India, you see these men that are really skinny, right? And they're 90 years old. And I don't know what they eat, but they obviously do yoga and they do a lot of exercise.
Yeah.
But they seem to be having no problem sleeping. They seem to have no health issues. They seem very healthy, very low body fat. Is it their diet, or is it what is, or is it just they're eating less food? Is that maybe it?
It's probably everything that he's doing.
Hmm.
Because they all work together, they all for example, with sleep, you can't eat your way, sleep, or you can't just exercise your way sleep. You need to sleep. You need to put in those
Yes.
hours,
Yes.
because that's the only time when the brain can get to do what it needs to do.
Right.
So even if you sleep well, but then you don't work out and you eat highly processed foods, that's not going to give you, the energy you need, the health that you want. So with this man, I would probably think, he's eating well, but he's also getting enough rest, and he has regular physical activities.
Yeah. I guess so. Probably what it is we have lack of movement here in the city, like city people. Because we look at people like Aborigines that live in the bush, they walk all day. It's probably a whole different thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Movement is good. Every movement counts. And we are, we are not supposed to be sitting for hours all the time.
Yeah.
I suggest to people to set an alarm on their phone just to get them to move, or
move to
stay
get up,
hydrated. Then that way you have to, get up and do your
that's
bathroom
true.
breaks.
That's true. It's easy to get caught up in the stress, and then you just forget about water or drinking liquids. That's true. That makes sense. Happens to me too sometimes. Absolutely. So to kind of talk about the sleep again. So the ideal basis for sleep would be to stop eating about 2 to 3 hours before you go to sleep, and just in a lighter dinner, more protein and vegetables. Nothing, no carbs, no carbohydrates.
A little bit of carbs. Some people find that the carbs actually helps them to sleep well. So you have to, yes, a little bit, but not. But of course, as always, it's important to have enough, protein in your meal and fiber from vegetables. But if you find yourself, nothing's ideal. It doesn't always work the way we do. We have very busy lives. So if you find yourself end up having a late dinner, don't forego your dinner, but have something lighter.
I see. Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. Yeah. And so no drinking. Same thing with liquids then. So no more drinking like 2 or 3 hours before you go to sleep. So you don't have to go to the bathroom during the day, because in the morning you're dehydrated, right? The body is obviously dehydrated from the night, right?
Yes, very much so. Yes, I mean, I have some water, have some liquid, but not gallons of it, and see what works.
Okay.
Again, my suggestion.
I'm probably no wine, right? Because that turns into sugar, doesn't it?
Well, alcohol. I think we need another episode on this.
Okay, that's a different thing. Okay.
It has a lot of effects, and it disrupts sleep for other reasons with alcohol. So the early in the evening you have it is better, because even though some people find that it is a sedative, and some people find, whenever I drink, I sleep like, I fall asleep like mad, like crazy. It's so easy to pass out, because it's that sedative effect.
Yeah. But then you wake
But
up afterwards, right?
exactly, because it keeps you in the lighter stage of sleep, and then you wake up in the middle of the afternoon, and then of course it sends you to the bathroom as well.
Yeah. Okay. What about, since we're talking about sleeping, what about power naps?
If you must, maybe 5, but not long, nothing longer than 20 minutes, because
Okay.
otherwise, if you sleep for too long, then that night you might have trouble falling asleep.
Oh, you're robbing the sleep from the night, huh?
Yes, or making it, yes, exactly, the night before.
Right. It's
But-
like taking a credit card and taking the sleep from the night. Okay, makes sense.
Yeah. But
Um,
caffeine is very important. Some people are very sensitive to caffeine. And caffeine has a half-life of between 5 and 6 hours.
Okay. Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay. So basically, let's say you plan to go to bed at, let's say 9 o'clock, you shouldn't have any caffeine by 3 or 4 p.m.
Well, what it means is that if you have caffeine at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, so by 9 p.m., it was still about 50% of that still in your bloodstream.
Oh, I see. It's funny you say that, because when I was younger, I grew up in Austria, right? And a ski resort, and we used to drink espressos before we went to sleep, like 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. But I was probably 20, 25 years old. Now, if I drink a regular cup of coffee around 5 or 6 p.m., forget it. I won't be able to sleep for a long, long time.
Yes. A lot of sleep experts actually suggest no caffeine after 2 p.m. in the afternoon.
But at least they don't recommend giving it up completely, because I couldn't be without it, because I love a good cup of coffee in the morning. That's like
we all do. It keeps us focused and it perks us up. And of course, it tastes good too.
Smells good too.
Very much so.
So DNA is not your destiny. So that's interesting. So you can actually counteract that, or counter work that against it. The
Very much
DNA,
so.
let's say you have a negative DNA that you have a history of diseases in your family, you can actually counteract that with nutrition, for example, right? And exercise. Is that correct?
Yes, nutrition, exercise, sleep. Research studies show that with Alzheimer's disease, the most effective tool to prevent it is high-intensity exercise.
Really?
Yes.
Interesting.
It's the number one tool that we can all do.
Is that because more oxygen is being brought to the brain, or what's the reason? Do you know the reason behind it?
Because exercise is good for blood glucose regulation, and they find that there is a link between metabolic health and Alzheimer's disease development.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
But of course, exercise is going to help you, providing it's not too late at the night, it's going to help you to sleep better.
Right.
And sleep deprivation has been linked to Alzheimer's.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
So can you tell me what would be a healthy day plan, so breakfast, lunch, and dinner, for a busy, stressed professional in the whatever real estate world, or any profession really? Is there anything you can recommend? Should the breakfast be the strongest meal, or how do you recommend that throughout the day?
I would suggest having breakfast. That's very important. That gives you the energy to keep your day going, and have some fiber. And again, with all the meals, is best not to have too much processed food. So make sure that the sugar content is not so high.
Are you talking about sausage and bacon, that kind of stuff, or? I want to know what that includes, because sometimes I eat that. I have to know if I have to give it up or not.
No. We're not suggesting giving up anything that you enjoy doing, because it's important to enjoy what you do and what fits in, with your work schedule and so on. But make sure you have enough protein. That's very important, especially as we age.
At breakfast?
Yes, have breakfast. Okay. Yes, maybe some eggs. Eggs are, very nutritious. Okay. If you are concerned about your blood, your cholesterol level, then have more egg whites.
Okay.
Those are good. And
Yeah.
if you're vegetarian, then have or vegan, then maybe have pulses, have some pulses,
From
and
what?
pulses
Oh,
like
pulses.
lentils,
Okay. Okay.
beans,
Mhm.
and make sure you have some fiber too. So
Okay.
you can
So that's for
put
breakfast.
you can put vegetables in your omelets.
All right. Okay. That's for me. That's more going into lunch, but okay. So okay. So
Have some
protein,
fruit.
eggs. So coffee, protein, like eggs for breakfast, right?
Yeah,
Toast
have
is
some fruit
okay. Okay.
and avocados.
Oh, okay. Avocados.
Yeah,
Okay. I love
avocados
avocados.
very nutritious, and a lot of people
Okay.
enjoy them.
Yeah. And for lunch, what would you recommend for lunch?
Lunch, omega-3s are very important, so it's good to make sure that you have an adequate amount every day, and you can get the omega-3s from fatty fish such
Oh,
as salmon,
okay.
wild salmon, something like that, or have some lean protein such as chicken.
Okay.
And if you're enjoying meat, grass-fed beef
Okay.
could be
That's
an
right.
option.
What about, since you mentioned salmon, because I heard or read that, for example, farm-raised salmon is not really good because they, I don't know, swim in their own antibiotics. Is this true? That's kind of what I've heard.
It is, yes. So it's always better to go for wild salmon.
Wild salmon. Okay.
Yes, definitely. Then you don't have the problems with the
Okay.
pesticides and all those colorings they add into farm salmon.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I've heard about that. So they make it look nice and pink, right?
Yeah, exactly. The color is
Very pink.
completely different. Yeah, this is incredible what they do to our foods these days.
Yeah, that's why it's really important, to have you on here and educate people, because I think a lot of people are not aware of it. Or, like, for example, I stopped drinking milk a long, long time ago. Same thing with soda. It's no milk, no soda. I drink almond milk, oat milk, that kind of stuff. But I just have read too much stuff about milk. And also, not only that, I see sometimes, I'm a big animal supporter, animal lover, and I go on motorcycle trips and I see some farms and I see how those cows being treated, and it's just horrible, to me. And I think that if that animal is under stress and it gets killed, that stress hormone comes with it when we eat it. It comes into our body, right?
Very much so, yes. And all the hormones they add to all these, animals, it's just terrible. And the antibiotics.
Right. But
Yeah.
do you think, because I know a friend of mine is total vegan, and do you think that being total vegan, you can get enough protein, you can sustain yourself?
You can, providing that you are very organized about the way you eat. So you are very strategic about everything you eat. And that's the important part of staying healthy, because then you have to make sure you get enough protein
Yeah.
and
Okay.
get enough nutrients such as omega-3s,
But
by way of supplements.
Okay. But I would imagine you have to eat a lot more, right? Because as a vegan, you have to eat more food than compared to somebody who eats the steak and whatever salad. And isn't that the case? They would have to eat more to get the same amount of protein from vegan.
Yes, probably, yes.
So all day long you have to eat.
No, but you just have to make sure when you have a meal that you get in your adequate protein. When it comes to food, we get all our nutrients from food. They don't just appear in our body.
Right.
And when you have something bad, you are actually losing that opportunity of eating something good. And that is the problem, because there's only so much we can eat per meal, and we get full.
Right.
So in a way, it's a bit like looking at your bank account, all the pluses and the minuses.
I see. Okay. That's a good way to do it. I read something, I think you wrote somewhere on your website one day, and I think this is very impactful, was eat food as medicine or something, or else eat medicine later in life or something like that. How does that go?
Yes, that's right. Either, you actually have, treat your body well now. Otherwise, you end up, paying for it later when you get all the diseases and you have to go on medications, because
I
all the
see.
medications come with side effects.
Right, absolutely, yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. So it's
And
better to put in the work now.
yes, absolutely. We have another 11 minutes left here, so let me just see what else we have. The sleep we went through, healthy choices, food choices. So so how does it work? Let me first of all put your information down here. And so if somebody wants to get in touch with you, they would just call you or go to your website. And then how does it work? They schedule a Zoom meeting, or how do you work with your clients?
Oh, they can go on my website,
Mhm.
and then there's a contact form they can fill in.
Mhm. Oh, I see. Like an intake form?
Yes, it is.
Mhm.
Yes. And there will be some questions. So this way it gives me an idea what they
Mhm.
would like to discuss about. And then
Okay.
I'll get back to them with a time that's suitable for them and for, that will work for both of us. And
Okay.
then we have a conversation as to how I can support them.
This is actually it's a great way to make a living, I think, because you never have to really see the client in person. You can travel all over the world and do this from anywhere, right?
Yes, but ideally, I like to see someone in person from time to time, because
Okay.
it's quite impactful to actually have a session when you
Okay.
actually can meet and discuss about what you would like to work on.
Okay.
But at the same time, when clients are in town, or sometimes I will go over to where they live,
Mhm.
in those cities and visit them. And also because that way I can also, if I get invited to their homes, I
Mhm.
can see how to work on what they have in their kitchens.
You can check the cabinets.
Yes, or do a cooking demonstration,
Oh,
or
I see.
sometimes I also do those supermarket tours where
I
I
was going
actually
to ask
take
you
the
that.
client.
So you go shopping with your client, right? Like a test shopping kind of thing. Is that what it is?
It's shopping, but also to show them how
Mhm.
important it is to read food labels
Yeah.
when they are making the purchasing.
Yeah. I remember I saw a post on your Instagram page a while back, and I was really surprised. There's very few cereals that are really good for you, right? There's a bunch of cereals out there, but I remember you pointing out one or two or three. I think that was it. And so it was very, very interesting that, oops, something happened. We lost her. Let's see where she is. I think we may have lost our health and wellness coach. Let me see if it's coming back, but I think she's not. Anyway, we're almost at the end. Anyway, so as I was mentioning earlier in the beginning of the podcast, two subject I was talking about is the inventory on the Altus Research with Mike Simonson. I'm going to put that link in the YouTube comment section, and also from I think Jason Mitchell about the NAR lawsuit and what he thinks. I think for the real estate agents, a very interesting video to watch. I know it's kind of probably close to 50 minutes, but he has a lot of interesting connections with big companies, Zillow, Redfin, or whatever, and lending companies. And I think it is a very interesting video to watch, because I think what he says really makes sense. It kind of resonates with me. Anyway, I thank you for watching for this time. We lost Cheng, unfortunately. She's in Hong Kong. Must have been some technical difficulties, but I think we got a lot of valuable information. And until next time, I would say, if you could, be so kind and share and distribute and comment on this video. We would both really like it, because it helps for our algorithms. Thank you so much. And Tess Chang, thank you. We lost you there, but thank you so much. And until next time.